Hello. This is Happy Valley Hobbies, and these are hobbies that make me happy. Uh, it's a ever so fun New Year. Hello there, Caboose 73 Channel One. I'm sorry, I'm blanking out on your name. Uh, but yeah, I wound up. Hello there, Valleys. Thank you for coming in. Uh, I wound up skipping last week because I had an opportunity to hang out with friends of mine and all that. And Dave, all right, I'll get it eventually. Um, uh, Wound up hanging out with somebody I haven't seen for several months and all that, and decided to hang out with them instead of you know you know rushing the hour and a half to get home. Chris, all right. Again, I'll eventually remember people's names. Um, that's why I like some of the channel names where they actually have the actual, like a parentheses on it saying that what their name is. But yeah, so I took an unexpected week off, which I mean, it was okay. Um, since I don't make a living with this channel, it just makes sense to just do do what do what I have to do. Uh, but I would have to say that one of the things that I am surprised, well, not surprised, but glad to announce that after fiddling with the locomotive and trying to get it working properly and having to apparently use super glue on the one wheel set. Hello there, Wigwag. I was able to actually get the locomotive working. It seems to be working properly. And now the next thing is to try to figure out how to broaden the gauge of the tender, because yeah, the tender is the way the locomotive is designed, that it needs the tender to provide half the power. Right now, I can get it up and running using, basically a couple of alligator clips, that connect to the brushes and can go back and forth that way. I actually saw recently, what is it? TGS Media, I think it's called. I forgot. I know it starts with a T. I don't know if it's TGS or TSG. But multimedia. It's somebody. It's a channel that where they've been doing it professionally for a while now, and if I remember correctly, they predate. I almost want to say they predate YouTube, mainly because their logo shows an old-fashioned camcorder. The ones that you put on your shoulder and all that. So I'm assuming it's predates YouTube. But the thing is that they were doing something that they were doing a layout where they were talking about this one locomotive that the guy had, and you basically got it. It was a bunch of parts and all that. And then after looking, I had to go back a little bit to look at it because it's not the exact model that I've been regaging. I know it's been called the the Dixie Bell mold, which is an 00 scale model of Sierra number 3, known as the Hollywood locomotive because it's been in so many movies, TV shows. Yeah, it's I think it's in the Guinness Book of World Records as the most the most for most filmed locomotive or something along those lines. But this particular model that this was on this show is I want to say the Mastodon variant, because the Sierra number 3 is a 460. But the thing is, they did make they had all these different variations and etc. Usually the paint schemes, but there was one time that for a short time they actually gave it a new. Oh, hello there, Dan. Thank you for coming in. They actually used this. It looks like they used the same boiler, and they wound up modifying the drive for it, so it was a 280, and that's what this model is. And he's explaining that how he's modified it. Put a new motor in it, sound decoder, and all this. Well, I don't think he said sound decoder. He said decoder. But I don't remember it actually having any sound. Hot dog pilot Andy, how you doing, sir? I would have to say the late night crew is here. But the thing is that since it's the same. The wheel arrangement's different, but it's still the same drivetrain, if that makes any sense. What it is that what they wound up doing is that they wound up making the wheels smaller, and since between the last driver and the middle driver there's a large space, when they make the driver smaller, there's enough room to add a fourth driver on it. Second. Yeah, here we are. This is I do have one of this variation, which it has been it already has been detailed. I mean, it has nice coal in it and etc. But yeah, they wound up making the driver smaller, and then able to actually stuff this extra driver in. But otherwise, it's the same, pretty much the same mechanism. I only have one of this style at this point. Not quite sure if I'm going to see about getting a hold of a second one, because I think do I have to do the same thing with this one? Yes. The belt just came off. All right. Oh, okay. Interesting. I'm assuming that well, since it's been already been detailed and all that, I'm assuming that they've made changes, because I'm trying to think now. You can probably see the rubber tires, but the thing is that these are blind, so I would need, in order to get the same amount of detail and all that, I would have to have sort of like with the one I just did. I need 3 locomotives. Well, in order to do this one properly, I need 4 locomotives, which in itself is annoying because sort of not the greatest of turning around and um, doing things this way. Do I have? Huh. I thought I had more over here, but I guess I have them in a different spot. But yeah, right now I do have uh, I one thing I would have to say, I haven't been feeling fantastic lately, so that's why I'm a little fuzzy. Uh, it's one of those things that when I got the locomotive working properly, it's one of those things that I noticed that I was not. I don't want to say I should have been like, cool, I got it working, and I was like, all right, I got it working. Now what? There was no joy in it, so I'm not quite sure why I'm feeling this way, but it seems that things are just not joyful. But oh well. All right, let's say we switch cameras. Let's see. This should be this one. Yes. All right. All right. Now I'll switch over to this. All right. Move the camera just a little bit. Not too much. All right. So what we have here is the 2 locomotives that I grabbed the solid drivers for this one. So let's put those a little bit out of the way because I was, looking for stuff and wound up getting stuff all over the place. I got that one, that one. Now I think I might have to double check this, but I might have enough. I think I might have enough locomotives to do one with black drivers. I could be wrong, but as you can see from this is where this is why I need the tender, because of half the pickups are on it. Also, while looking for stuff, I actually found the original idea for this layout. That's another one thing, is that I do have a. Is it not going this way? I've lost where I was going with this. All right. Let's grab phone. Yeah, it might be the January blues. Let's see if this was not gonna. I can see everything. But one of the things I'm planning on doing is that with the help of Speed Muller from the NMRA, that's been, I guess, the head look moderator for the head moderator for the Discord for the NMRA. Why did this go this way? We're willing to bet that the wire was next to decided to be a wire. So let's say we move this a little bit over here. Yeah, I'll keep that there, but then try to get it so the light's not reflecting off of it. All right, now to grab power pack, a Tech 3 power command, which is slightly broken. The amp meter on it does not work. Track voltage does, but not the amp meter. But if I carefully put this where it's not going to entangle on anything. As you can see that this has been re-gauged. Oh, Joe Raider, thank you for coming in. And clip on that. These are connected directly to the brushes of the motor. Okay, that was odd. The monitor decided to flicker. And away we go. Yeah, this I got this. Well, I first got it running on Wednesday, but then it wound up jamming, and then what was it now? I think it was Friday. I got it back. Was it Friday? Yeah, I think it was Friday that after super gluing one of these wheels. Yeah, I think it's this one. Wound up super gluing this so it wouldn't twist or anything like that, and it seems to be working fine now in both directions. Reverse not so much, but then again I'm assuming it's not worn in reverse. But now it's got to figure out how to re-gauge the trucks on this. Now I am thinking about getting LaBelle trucks because they come in 3 pieces for the trucks themselves, but I'm still not quite sure what to do with the actual axles. I'm thinking, oops. Hey, what do you know? The circuit breaker works on this. But of course, now that I got it running, I can now put it on the track. But the thing is with this one, yeah, if I'm not quite sure if you can see right here, but there's like this little white line that goes between the wheels, between the wheel and the tire, and that's where it's. This is all insulated, and hence the reason why I need the tires on this to also be yeah, I'm really thinking tonight, or speaking tonight, I should say. Put this on the track. Okay, why is it not going on the track? Right, fold up this, and we should be able to have movement. So we're almost like dead rail right now. What is this not? It's not staying on the track, but it is moving on the track. That. Yeah, it's not staying on the track. I'm not quite sure if it's because I'm trying to hold it with these, and these are relatively stiff. Oh, there it goes. But it's one of the things of now that I have equipment to test, find out how well things stay on the track. Let's go over here. Let's try this track here. This is probably going to be the testing phase. Maybe we'll have to replace this with blind drivers. You don't know yet, but yeah. Now the priority is they get more equipment on. Oh, hello there, Kyle. Thank you for coming in. And I think that's one of the things I'm slowly realizing, that it's not as simple as, okay, relaying track and then what happened here? I'm not quite sure, but it feels like somehow this stretched and took off all the well, definitely one of those things of, this is easy to do, and then realizing that's not it. So yeah, right now is getting more um, outside bearing equipment now. Got the inside bearing equipment. Once I get, like some cars and etc., then I'll turn around and start super detailing this. Uh, One is to see about getting a more modern motor in here, because right now the way this is that the back head is like literally outside the cab. If I remember correctly, the back head's supposed to be about here-ish, not all the way out back. But that's going to require a smaller, more modern motor. Another interesting thing is that since this is actually 1/76 scale, from what I understand, not 1/87, so it's a little bit larger. And what the plan is to make to make a smaller cab, but also make it a wooden cab. From my understanding, metal cabs were becoming a thing in the late 1880s, early 1890s, and on the original locomotive, I think the wooden cab was replaced in, I could be wrong, but I want to say around 1912 or something like that. So another thing is turning around and getting rid of changing the headlight, one to be HO scale, and also removing the dynamo, because even though they had electricity at the time, it wasn't perfected yet, which is going to be very annoying, because as you can see, it's on the tapered end of the boiler. Now, if it was on where the sandboxes are, or the bell, it's just like, oh, it's a nice cylinder and all that. No, it's on the conical section. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. There are things that, even though it's slightly larger scale, just like narrow gauge equipment is smaller, we can turn around and use the smaller or the larger portions to. Oh, all right, Dave. I'm not sure when I'll be able to take you up on that offer. But thank you for that offer. Looks like John Blanacki is also in. Thank you for coming. But things that don't really have a quote size to it. I mean, broad gauge locomotives were larger. The boilers were larger, so that's okay to have it that way. Same thing with the sand dome and the steam dome. Things are slightly larger. We can get away with a slightly larger bell because it just means a deeper clanging. Things that we can't probably get away with the larger scale is one, the cab. As you put an HO scale person in there, it's going to look really odd in there. So going to make a and not only that, as I said before, they didn't the metal cab is too new, so I would have to make not only a smaller cab, but a wooden cab. Now, headlights I don't believe were standardized, but they're close enough that this probably looks way. I'm probably putting an HO scale one would also give the illusion that the boiler is bigger because, it's like, gee, it looks like a. Take a balance. Yeah, I would have to say modifying, especially steam locomotives, can be a bit of a challenge because you want to keep the mechanism running properly, but sometimes changing those details, things go awry. But I am this was actually not the locomotive I was planning on experimenting with. The locomotive I was planning on experimenting with was just that was this one. This is I guess it's this one's called the teapot. And the reason I was originally planning on this one because it's like if it didn't work out, it came in a box full of other stuff and all that, so I wasn't too worried about it. However, as you can see, I tore this thing completely down, and then when I actually got the drivers apart, as you can see, very ugly looking drivers. Yeah, I think they were. I think this is considered an oil burning lamp, which means it didn't really give out much. But hello there, John. Thank you for coming in. I hope the dinner is good. Oh, I didn't realize that. Here's the thing is I'm holding the tire and the wheel is spinning out. That's how cheaply made this is. Oh, and I just made it so this comes off. But I'm not quite sure if you can see this, but when I first measured this, this right here is the same diameter as the axles on this. So it was one of those things again, I'm like, all right, I'll do it this way. And it looks like I just had a screw come loose on this. There. But the thing is, when I took the wheel off, I'm not quite sure you can see it, but there's like a small little step there. And so that means it wasn't a 1/8 axle throughout the whole thing. So as soon as I saw that, it's like, okay, I can't, do this at this time. I still might. Maybe if I get different drivers or something like this, I could still turn around and take the experiment and eventually get it to a point where I can start hacking this up and make it look more. It probably won't be an exact locomotive and all that, but as you can see, the mold on this, or the quality on this, was so bad is that the domes aren't lined up or aren't straight up and down. They're sort of like, ugh. Ramen is a little smoky tonight. Yeah. If it works, it works. I mean, I myself am someone who can cook to survive, but not to impress. So, also the smokestack is not lined up with the cylinders. I would change that. I would also change the headlight, turn around and probably cut the cab completely off, and then use that as a template to make a wooden one with a wood load, and use this as the local switcher. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we all would like to do. Uh, I I'm not sure if we were here earlier, but I do have the engine part of the locomotive running. Um, right now, I gotta run it off of these two wires in the back that connect to the brushes. Um, but also have to turn around and you know basically do some troubleshooting, making sure uh, it runs on the track properly, making sure that the track is okay. Which I just found out this rail, for some odd reason, has completely come off and doesn't look like it fits anymore. So it's one of those things of track laying was good when I did it, but something has changed. I don't know if the wood has shrunk or the rail has gotten larger. Don't know. Haven't run into that problem before. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, I think I have enough of these with black drivers. I can do a black drivered one. So I had to take the black driver one off of uh, this one over here, which is out of the camera range, in order to. I think it was this driver originally was a black one, but I've taken that out and put it someplace else. Wait, here it is. Oh, that's the. Yeah, these have rubber tires on there. But you should have a spare black one wandering around somewhere. Is that a Rusty American? I don't know if it's River Rusty or Poacher. This one doesn't have a specific uh, number on it, but I do have. I do have both. Yep. Yeah, the Sierra. Well, is it? Yeah, Tycho slash Mantua. Um, but most of the American styles I have are either the Poocher uh, or the River Rossi ones. I do have a couple of old tool Bachmann ones also, but right now I'm leaning towards as the Bachmanns being the nicer ones. Unfortunately, all the ones I have the motors in the tender. They call it tender drive, which I think is a little bit of a misnomer, because the ones that have the motors and the mechanism in the drive, that makes sense that it's called a tender drive. This may be called tender motor. That's what I assume. That's what I would assume. You're there. But yeah, that's probably one of the. Yep, Poacher River Rossi. All right. Well, Dave, we'll talk to you later. one of these days. I'm not sure when it'll be, but I'll see about getting information for your club so I can go to your club, which is, from what I understand, not that far from me. I believe it's like head directly south. But yeah, I'm sort of, although not really emotionally happy about it, I am not really enthusiastic. Glad that I got everything regauged and working. Because that's one thing I might have to do is I made a gauge for the track, so I know it was all 6 foot in 6 foot. I might have to turn around and make another gauge, for wheels, basically. Basically, you wind up making an NMR gauge. Oh, say that when you're tired. For this HOW6. Also, speaking of the NMRA, I do. Speedy has made a broad gauge section, which I haven't really put anything on there. But one of the things of maybe, turning around and getting this operational and all that, maybe I'll definitely send pictures on it, and see if I can actually do a video. No, Bernard, you are half correct. It is dull gauge, but it's standard and broad. I've regauged this locomotive to 6 foot gauge. 6 foot gauge was sort of instigated by the Erie. What's it now? The Erie and New York something railroad. Because they had the idea, they had the thought process like Brunel's, make it wider. They didn't go the whole 7 foot. They went with 6 foot. And then eventually railroads that were connected to it also decided to go 6 foot, like the Albany and Susquehanna. I believe the Lehigh Valley was originally 6 foot also. Plus there was a whole bunch of smaller railroads. And I'm modeling 1876. And it was about this time that a lot of the railroads, I think a lot of the U.S. railroads by 1880, were pretty much standardized at that time. And it was a lot easier to standardize broad gauge than it was narrow gauge. Narrow gauge, you had to turn around and literally change all the clearances and widen the ties, then add the standard gauge. Whereas with broad gauge, if it was wide enough, 6 foot's definitely wide enough. I do believe 5 foot was considered slightly too narrow to do it. I'm leaving that one alone, Bernard. But Yeah, the thing is that the interesting thing is that I've heard the term broad gauge, but when the nomenclature for broad gauge is, you know, obviously narrow gauge is, HON and whatever the number is. Um, with if I remember correctly, with broad gauge, the reason why I went with HOW6, W meaning wide, actually became it was a debate between O gauge and Proto 48. Proto 48 is the fine scale standard in for 1/48 scale or O gauge or O scale locomotives or equipment. And the thing is that O gauge, when they first standardized everything, it actually wound up the gauge actually winds up being 5 foot in that, which back when they're turning around and coordinating the standardization of toy train sets, people at O gauge was not that particular. Like, okay, it's 5 foot instead of 4 foot 8.5, and they didn't really matter that much. But as a lot of people get more and more yeah, I would have to say it's unique now. I do actually know somebody else that's doing the Lehigh Valley in 6 foot gauge. I'm not quite sure how I know he's modifying HO scale models, but I'm not quite sure the whole detail. Probably once I start posting stuff, he'll start posting stuff also, and we'll compare notes. One of the interesting things is that with this gauntlet switch, actually, I do have a Fast Tracks jig for number 4 switches, and what I did is that the center portion here is done in that jig, and then I wound up adding the outside rails to making sure that they were 6 foot. So the inner gauntlet section is actually standard gauge. Let's get that on. So that's the way that is, it's set up that way. I mean, I didn't really, well, half planned it that way. I didn't really plan to have this section here be actual standard gauge, but it actually reminds me of the track that was over it was a Niagara suspension bridge. That the interesting thing is that the inside was standard gauge. One side was 6 foot, the other side was 5.5 foot. 5.5 was the cleaning up bench work. That is always a noble endeavor. Okay, I'm assuming Andy's talking about the quote modern steam engine. But yeah, the 5'6" was the I call it the unofficial standard gauge for Canada before they went to uh, the international standard. Um, the reason why I call it unofficial is because from my understanding, Canada didn't actually have a law saying that, hey, this is what our standard is. Uh, However, they did have it set up where it was the only gauge that was able to get funding. So there's a lot of times it's like, it's like, hey, you want to build a railroad? You can build it. And it was, yeah, the leader was definitely an oddball. I mean, it looked less than a steam engine than the Ace 3000, which was it was something that was proposed. They never built it, but it was proposed, and it had calves on the end. I believe this was also in the mid '80s, so they had everything a little bit more electronic and all that. So the fireman was not in the center of it. Everything was sort of, if I remember correctly, all stokers and everything else and all that. So the fireman didn't have to be in the back there. Yeah, it's like I mean, even the boiler itself was nuts. Well, I would have to say it looked nuts, but not being a boiler designer, it probably was not as crazy as we would think. Um, because we're so used to seeing a boiler in this shape. I mean, if you look at a Fairleigh boiler, it looks like it's a double-ended boiler, and uh, I guess that's how it was originally, but they found out that it didn't work properly, so they put a thing in the center there. So, hmm, uh, so it's basically I think it's right now designed like almost like two boilers end to end. Mm. That is that is one. I got to find out exactly what the timeline is for the Fairleighs. So uh, I might be able to build one and have it as a. I don't know if they ever built any broad gauge Fairleighs, but might do. If it's within the right time frame and all that, I might do one as a. Maybe as almost like a pusher locomotive, because it would have so many wheels. Yeah, and also instead of having an 0440T, I would do it probably as a 066OT. Hmm. Yeah, that's the one thing about external combustion engines. They can practically run on anything. Uh, Another version I'm thinking on doing this is making a 440, basically eliminating this particular driver. Yep. Yeah, I would have to say usually when people get, I want to say they get lucky when they get famous because they just have to be at the right time, right place at the right time. Because there's a lot of good people out there that never get recognized. And then some get falsely attributed. There's a lot of things that Thomas Edison was proclaimed to come up with when he actually didn't. A lot of times people say, "Oh, he invented the light bulb." I said, "No, he did not invent the light bulb. He invented a light bulb that worked." The incandescent bulb was a thing. It's just that if I'm remembering correctly, he found a good enough vacuum pump. But Edison did not invent the light bulb. He did, however, invent something that he wasn't really that enthusiastic about. He thought it was like, yeah, I invented it, but it's not that great of a thing, and that's called a phonograph. Because the story goes is that he just he was trying to make something that could record Morse code. And one time he was going, the governor went off the rails on it, and it wound up going saying it was making noise. So went back to the drawing board and said, "No, how about have a moving diaphragm going against, I think tinfoil or something like that." It was something that was very, unfortunately, didn't last that long. So it's a lot of the original recordings are not there anymore. But then they, had a machinist put it together and all that. All right, let's try it. And so he went in, started yelling into the machine. Apparently, Mary had a little lamb as a test wording, and set it back to the beginning, turn the crank and all that, and it was his own voice spinning back out. No, basically him and the engineer that put it together did not think that it would actually work properly, but it did. Yet he didn't think it was he didn't really think that it was that successful. But well, one thing I am going to see about trying now is to start adding more creative titles than the date and saying it's a live stream. I might even try to figure out how to do thumbnails and all that. So, but that's it's one of the things that just in order to make a channel grow, you need to actually try different things and see what works. We see what doesn't, and be very grateful of everyone that shows up. I mean, I don't know if this channel will ever get to be massively big. It was my hope when I first started it, but now it's more of a, if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So 1920 by 1080 picture will work. All right. Well, I'll probably be using my phone to take the pictures and then transferring it over to the computer and all that fun stuff. Right now, too blah to do so. But that's why I added, Happy New Year and it's alive on this one. Not sure what I'm going to be doing next week, and that's probably one thing that probably is a smart thing to do, is figure out what to do for next week, because then it's a lot easier to figure out what you're going to put down for a title. But and actually I might use the use this as the title for next week. I don't know. Should have used it for this one, but I wasn't thinking that far ahead with thumbnails. All right, now for the big question: does anyone know who's on Sidetrack Sunday? This is the second one, so it's not John. I don't think it's Ray. Yeah, that's true. Well, Bernard, I would have to say having fun. Didn't really have it this week, but then again, I'm just blah. But Ray, okay. Oh, hello there, Bosscar Jerry. Thank you for lurking. Thank you, Kyle, for putting that in there. So, yeah, there's times I'm doing this because I like doing it, and then there's other times, like tonight, I think I'm doing it more for therapy of connecting with people. All right, yeah, Andy. I'm assuming you're way past midnight, so thank you for coming in, and see everyone around. Let's see, let me switch cameras. That's that way. Shake the camera all over the place. Yeah. Yes, goodbye everyone that is leaving at this point. There we go. So, yes, good night, everybody. And I would have to say, I believe the world needs more love. So find your passion, spread it around, and, well, add some silliness, spread it around, and let everybody enjoy it. I thank you, Kyle. And I might see you over at Ray's. As I said, I'm sort of blah, so I don't know if I'll show up or not. But until then, bye.